Well, hello there. Thanks for joining me on this Wednesday, and I hope you had a great day. Today, I'm just going to be chatting a little bit about some test paintings I did last night, and they're in preparation for the new content I'm adding to my Foolproof Pouring Mini-Course. So I just thought I'd share the paintings I did and maybe talk about the Mini-Course a little bit to see if it's maybe something you want to check out before I raise the price. Hey, Victoria, thanks for joining us. Cool, thank you. Yeah, let's see. Hey, JC. I'm just going to click on Victoria here. Thanks for joining us, Victoria. You've been pouring for about a year. That's awesome. Congratulations. That's fantastic. Well, I'm glad you could join us this evening. It's not going to be a very in-depth talk tonight. I'm just going to kind of share a couple paintings and chat a little bit. And if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the comments and I will answer them for you. So last night I was practicing some paintings. I haven't done this particular style in a little bit. I thought I should freshen up before I filmed all the content. So it is just craft paints and school glue. And then I'm adding silicone to the paints. So you get a very different look when you add the silicone to the glue medium as opposed to adding silicone to the Floetrol. I don't really like the effects that the cells create when you add silicone to Floetrol. To me, they are just really distorted and I just don't like them all that much. I love the natural cells you get with just Floetrol and paint. That's just my favorite, I think. But I really like the cells that are created when you add silicone to your glue mediums. So that's one of the only times I use silicone is when I'm using glue mediums. So I'll show you those in a second. This is a very, very simple color palette, super cheap paints. But I love doing these because, you can see what you can create with just really inexpensive supplies. So I'll show you the paints I'm using. So I used 4 colors last night. I used 2 apple barrel colors. I'll show you a close-up of these, but this is English Navy, which is a nice color, and Petunia Purple, which is kind of a pretty purple. I used metallic. I used Inca Gold from Folk Art, and I used white in this one. So I used Craft Smart White, which is just a white Craft Smart paint, the cheapest version of Craft Smart White. And the apple barrel white is kind of notorious for cracking. I've used it many times, and some of my paints have cracked with the apple barrel white. Some of them were fine, but it can crack, so I recommend just staying away from it. The Craft Smart White is great, though. Hey, Dana. So I've never had any problems with the Craft Smart paint. I get this at Michael's. This is a Michael's brand, and of course, the apple barrel are the Walmart brand, and you can also get the Folk Art metallics at Walmart too. There is no metallics for apple barrel, so you have to get a different brand for any kind of metallics. But Folk Art makes some great metallic paints. I love them. So those are just the simple paints. And then I used my silicone, and I used, where did it go? So here it is. Excuse me. I used the coconut milk anti-breakage serum, which works great for getting cells. I find this works almost just as well as the spot on 100% silicone, the treadmill belt lubricant. That is the really popular one that most people use. I use that a lot too. But this one is pretty easy to find. You can get it at the grocery store. You can get it at like the big box stores like Target, and Walmart carries it. At least last time I checked, they had it. So it's very easy to find. But you could use either one. They both work pretty much the same, in my opinion. But make sure if you're going to get one of these, check the ingredients and make sure the first ingredient is dimethicone. That is what creates the cells. That's what we want in there. So This one, the first ingredient, dimethicone, which is the cell-making stuff. So I'm going to flip the camera over, and I'll just show you what I made, and you can tell me if you like them or not. I think they turned out pretty good. So let me see here. I'll take a look at the first one, and let me flip the camera, and we'll take a look. Okay, so here it is. It might look a little blurry just at the beginning, but this is the first painting I did, and it's all 4 of those colors, and then a couple drops. I think I put 3 drops of the silicone in the purple and the blue. So there are 3 drops in here, 3 drops in here. I didn't put any in the white or the gold, and that's what we get. So, and you also have to torch. So once you, like this is a flip cup. So once you flip your cup over and stretch your paint out, you torch, and that brings up the cells. They just kind of bloom right out from the paint. It's fun to watch. I love watching the cells develop. So, but this is a fun one. So we got some cool cells, and I actually had some pretty crazy lacing in this one before I torched it. But this is kind of a fun one. So that is one of them. I'll show you another one here. This is also a flip cup. And this flip cup was, I did a flip and then I did a little lip drag through it. And Victoria's got a question. Just a second. Let's take a look at, does the coconut oil wash off the painting easier than other forms of silicone? That's a good question, Victoria. I think it does. Actually, if you hold up your painting, let me flip back really quick. This is a good question. So, good question, Victoria. What I found is when your painting is dry and you've used silicone, if you hold it up and take a look at your canvas, if you're using the treadmill, the spot-on silicone, normally you can see shiny spots where the silicone is. And if you hold up this, I don't see anything. It all looks exactly the same. And so I don't think the dimethicone is as oily as the 100% silicone. So that's another kind of advantage. Now, one thing I have done, I only did it once, just to see, and I'm not saying it's going to work every time. This is just a one-time thing, and just for because I was curious. I went ahead and varnished a painting, just like this, that had, I think I used the craft paints in the dimethicone, just to see what would happen. It went fine. I didn't wash it at all. As soon as it was dry, I just varnished it. No problem. So I'm not sure if that's going to always work. It probably has to do with how much dimethicone you put in your paints. That might have been just a fluke. I don't know. But that would never have worked if it was the spot-on silicone, I'm pretty sure. So that's just a little observation I made. But I do think it is maybe a little cleaner product to use and not as messy and hard to clean off. So, okay, let me flip back and I'll show you the other paintings. So, hey, Sandra. Hey, JC, how are you? Okay, so here's the second one I did. So this one was a flip cup, and then I did a lip drag through there, and then I torched, and we got some crazy cells. And here is a little tip for you. If you do a lip drag, like drag your cup through your paint, typically where you're disturbing your paint is where you'll get like these caterpillar-looking cells. Like I had them here and here, and there's one here. A couple of them I tipped off or tilted off. But typically, if you are doing a flip cup and you disturb your paint, that is where you're going to get like the caterpillar cells. So, I mean, I've just noticed that after doing many, many paintings like this. So if you don't like those type of cells, They're not very attractive, I don't think. But that's one thing. It's like they will develop where you're dragging your lip, where your cup, or if you're wherever you're disturbing your paint is where the caterpillar cells will show up. So that's just another little observation. Hey, thanks, JC. And let's see. So that is the second one. I like this one a lot. And the white has got a little bit away from me on this one. There's a lot of white in it. It looks more white on the camera, but there's a little too much white for my taste in this painting. So let me put that one aside. So if you just joined me, here's the first one I shared. I like this one a lot better. We got some cool gold cells, and we got some cool kind of white and black cells, purpley cells. So, hey, Zena. So that's a cool one. So, and then another one I did. Now this one is a little different. This is a ring pour. A ring pour that you torch and get cells in. And that's not like a super popular technique. I really like it. Hey, Donna, thanks for joining us. But I like the kind of the look of like a ring pour, and then it's interrupted by all these cells happening. So that's kind of a fun technique I like to experiment with. But these are the type of cells that like the coconut serum or the silicone will create. I really like the way these cells look. They're very round and orderly, and I just think they're very pretty. Much, much better than using the Floetrol and silicone. So that is another one I did last night. And here is the last one. This is probably my favorite because I didn't put any white in it. I just used the blue and the purple and the gold. So, and I really like that one a lot. So that one is probably my favorite from last night's little test paintings. So, but so these ones, they were fun to do. So here's like the little, the ring pour one, and then another flip cup one. So those are fun. I really like to do these, and it's a totally different look than a lot of other techniques, but they're really fun to play with. So let me flip back here to the other camera, and I got a couple questions, and let's see here. Dana asked if I will do a varnishing video. I probably will. I did show one of my favorite types of my simple type of varnish, which is the spray varnish. I didn't actually spray anything, but that's a very easy one to get started with if you're new to varnishing. But there's a couple other types of varnish I like to use, and so maybe I'll do one of those in the future. I'm not going to do that today, though. Good question. And Donna had the same question about varnishing, probably in the future. So good question. And Zena asked, can I use a coconut oil in a Dutch pour? You could certainly try it. I don't think I've ever tried it, actually. I get so many cells just from the mixture, like the formula that I like. It creates a lot of cells. But if you wanted a different type of cell, like the silicone cells like this, you could maybe do it. I'm not sure what would happen. I don't think I've seen anyone try that, actually. I would probably try using the glue mix, though, and putting a little bit of silicone in there. And you can blow it out. It'd have to be very thin, just like the regular Dutch pour, and then torch it. That's an interesting experiment. I might want to give that a try, actually. Good idea, Zena. And let's see, what else here? Thank you very much, Facebook user. Hey there, thanks for joining us. Let's say, hey, JC. Let's see, do you recommend finishing your painting? Yes, I do recommend it, but it's not something you have to do right away. So, once your painting is dry, let it dry thoroughly, put it away. You don't have to finish it immediately or right away. If you really want to make it shiny, then it's a good idea to finish it. In my opinion, you can finish it for a couple different reasons. It'll protect the surface of the paint from being so porous and attracting dirt and things like that. Although that's not a huge concern of mine. But if you want a uniform sheen or like glossiness over the whole painting, that's a really good reason to add a varnish. You have to decide what sheen you'd want. If you want kind of a satin sheen is a little bit of shine, like a semi-gloss is kind of a medium amount of shine. Then you have gloss and super gloss, which I'm not a huge fan of, the really glossy finishes. Just because when they're hanging on the wall, it really kind of distracts from the painting. And if you have lights and things like that, or light coming in from windows, it's very hard to see the painting. I know resin is really popular. Everyone likes to resin their stuff, and it looks amazing. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's gorgeous, but it's very hard to see the painting. So you have to kind of keep that in mind as far as like the sheens you like and things like that. I'd say give them a try. Try varnishing on some older paintings that you don't love and wouldn't mind if they got wrecked, because varnishing takes a little bit of practice depending on the type of varnishing you do. So, and then you can also experiment with the different sheens to see if you like a lesser sheen, like a satin or a semi-gloss, or if you really want the super shiny stuff. So I'd say give it test them out. And Donna asked, do I use an isolation coat before? It depends on the type of varnish I'm using. And also if there's silicone in the painting. Like if there's silicone in there, yes, I would recommend using an isolation coat, just as a little extra protection and to avoid like pitting and things like that. But I don't always use it. The reason is because you have to brush on an isolation coat, so that can leave some brush marks. One of my favorite ways to finish is a pour-on finish. So you pour it and tilt it. It's and you have to do it fairly quickly, but you don't see any brush marks. It's a beautiful finish. But I don't use an isolation coat for that one. So. And Christian, I hope I said that right, Christian. That's a cool name. So I ruined a canvas with resin that bubbled up after it said yes. Yes, I hope I said your name all right. Yes, resin can really wreck stuff, and it's kind of a tricky product to use. It's a kind of a hard process. Oh, good. Thanks, Kristen or Christian. Hope I got that one right. And you're welcome. So yeah, it's tricky resin. So you really have to kind of practice that beforehand. Hey, Joey, thanks for showing up tonight. Hey, Annette, how are you? Let's see. There's a lot of questions and comments. So yeah, JC said, I like the natural look. Yes, I agree. I do too. A lot of times when you're using, not so much with like craft paint and things like that, but if you're using metallics or mica powders, different types of acrylic paint, when the painting is dry, you get a lot of different sheens happening, and it can be very interesting. You'll see like metallics are doing something amazing. Mica powders have another look. So it's a very dynamic, interesting textured surface. Not so much textured, but have a lot of different sheens and glossiness and effects happening. And all of those, and it looks like a real painting, sometimes if you put a uniform coat on over the painting, it looks kind of like a poster almost. It doesn't look real, as real. So yeah, there's a lot to consider with putting on top coats. It's not necessary. You don't have to do it. So don't think like I've got to varnish or I've got to do this or that. So yeah, that's a good point, JC. Let's see, what else do we have down here? Let's see. Annette says, what kind of resin do you recommend? Oh, wow. There's like a million types of resin. And it really depends kind of on where you're at, where you live, because they're not all available everywhere. And so I'm in the US. So you can get like art resin is kind of the most popular, I'd say. And it's a good resin. It's not my favorite resin, but let's see if I can even find the resin. I forget the name. I always forget it. But there is one I like. Give me 1 second. Okay, Annette. Yeah, so you could use the one I like. So there's some that are in Canada that are popular there. There's other ones that are in the Australia that are popular. So give me 1 super quick second. You might have just seen my little thingy pop up here. Let's see, where is it? Sorry, I'm just looking quickly to see if I can find the resin I like, because I always forget the name. Where is it? Where is it? Come on. Oh, shoot. Oh, well, I'll post it in the group. How about that, Annette? I'll post it in the Facebook group, the resin I like. But it is nice. It's a little more affordable than art resin. But what I like about it is they have a couple different types of resin, but they have more UV inhibitors in them. So your artwork is a little better protected. But again, it does take some practice, and it is an investment. I mean, it's not cheap stuff. But yeah, sorry. Oh yeah, Christian, sorry, says she likes mass epoxy. That's a good one. Yes. Yeah, Kirst, or Jen. Thanks. Thanks for making it easy. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, excuse me. I'm just checking the questions really quick here. So I think I got them all. So cool. So I don't think what I'm going to talk about next is going to apply to a lot of you, just because I think a lot of you are more advanced. But the reason I showed you these paintings, my little test paintings I did last night, is because I'm adding more content to my Foolproof Pouring Mini-Course, which is a course for beginners, people that are just getting into paint pouring, and they don't know where to start. They don't have any supplies yet. They're kind of intimidated by it, and because there's a lot of information out there. A lot of it is contradictory. So I created this little course. It's not a super in-depth course, but it gets you started in paint pouring. So using very inexpensive, easy to find supplies. So the course is just about mixing up craft paints and school glue, which are really affordable. And then I demonstrate 3 different techniques. I show you how to do a flip cup and a ring pour and an open cup, which is one of my favorites. And that's about it. And it gets your feet wet and gets you to make your first couple paintings, to see if you like the process, see if you want to continue. And it answers a lot of the basic questions. So I'm adding more content, and then I'll be demonstrating how to use the silicone and the coconut oil dimethicone. So, and then the torch as well. So you can see how to do all 3 of those techniques and then also torching them and adding, and then generating these really cool looking cells, because I know cells are really popular. So it's just a really kind of beginner course. So if you've been painting for a while, I know a lot of you have been. If you're experimenting with resin and all that kind of stuff, it's probably not for you. It's a little too basic, but it's kind of like a starter course. So, so if you're interested in that, I'll post a link in the chat, or if you know someone that might be interested in it, because I'm going to be raising the price at the end of the month when I finish uploading this new content in there. So it's kind of like the last call to get it at the super affordable price of $18, which is really inexpensive. So let's see here. So I posted it in Facebook, but it didn't like going into, I posted it in YouTube, but not in Facebook. Just a second. Let's see if it works again. So let's see. Let me try it one more time here. Anyway, so I just wanted to show you, and that's what I was doing last night, is experimenting. I haven't used the craft paints and the silicone in a little bit, so just getting familiar with them again and kind of deciding on a color palette as well. So, but JC has a question: Is school glue the same as glue all? No, they're two different things. School glue is cheaper than the glue all. Glue all is a little higher quality glue from Elmer's. The school glue is very affordable and non-toxic and water soluble, and it's just more affordable. That's why I use it. I think the effects that you get with it are basically the same. So I use it only just because it's more affordable for this course anyway. If you wanted to use a glue medium for more finished works or more professional works, there are a few different types of pH neutral white glues, or PVA glues. I think Linco makes one, and those are better to use because your paintings won't yellow over time. With Elmer's, you're not quite sure if it's going to yellow. I don't know. You have to wait 20 years or so. That's a long time in my opinion. But if you're worried about that, you can use an acid-free glue like Linco, and there's a couple others that are out there. If you wanted to, do better paintings or use the glue medium, a little more professional grade. So, good question though. Let's see, anything else? Donna asks, how long have I been an artist? A long time, Donna. I hate to say how long, but I've been an artist since I was a kid. I took art in college, illustration. I studied at a private atelier, which is like a fancy art school, for about 5 years. And I was doing, and that was strictly classical drawing, oil painting, portraiture, still life, landscape, plein air, and what else? Oh, and then also a lot of graphic design. I did not at that school, but I've done a lot of graphic design, but also a lot of conceptual design. So that's hardcore. That school is like incredibly hardcore, and I got totally burned out with that. So, so I kind of totally changed directions in my art career. So I went from like very classical, representational forms of artwork, and then I stopped doing any art for a while, for about 4 or 5 years. And then when I came back, I had to create something again. I went in the totally opposite direction into abstract art. So, and then I never really worked with acrylics before I started working with abstracts. But then I really became obsessed with paint pouring and acrylic pouring. So, and I've done other abstract work as well, but like acrylic pouring is what I really love. So all different techniques, all different styles. So that's a little bit about my art background. I've done a lot of things, as well as ceramics and woodworking, a lot of woodworking. And so a lot of different things, eclectic background. So let's see, what else do we have? Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Donna. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And Annette asked, Can you use resin if you use glue and water? I think you can. I don't think I've tried it. I haven't resined over glue, but I know you can because I know other artists that do it. So I'm sure you can. Now, again, you might want to, if you're using silicone or the dimethicone, you might want to put an isolation coat. Golden makes one. It's called just Golden Isolation Coat. And put that over your paints before you resin. But again, test it out first. Do some experiments. That is the best advice I can possibly give you with resin and pretty much all varnishing. And Jen asked, do you have any experience using GAC 800? It has really helped crazing in my paintings. Is there another product similar to GAC? I don't use the GAC 800 as much. What I like to use is, it's a very similar product, is the Liquitex pouring medium. This is my favorite pouring medium. And it'll also help reduce crazing and cracking because it's, like 100% polymer, acrylic polymer. So you're adding binders to your paints and things like that. But I love the effects that this gets when I mix it with Floetrol. So this is what I love to use. I have used the GAC 800 though. And also I think it's, well, they switched the names. I think now it's just called Golden Pouring Medium, but they're the same exact product. So the GAC line, they have a bunch of different GACs or GACs, like GAC 100. I use to seal my wooden panels before I gesso them. So there's GAC 100. Then they have GAC 300, I think. I can't remember the number, but that's for putting on fabric, and you can kind of stiffen fabric with the GAC 300. And then the 800 is so popular now. And it's basically it's a pouring medium. So it's thin and to reduce crazing. And it's designed to thin your paints out without having to, over dilute them with water, basically. So, but it's a good product. I just love the Liquitex. It is my favorite. Yes, it doesn't take a whole lot to add to your paints. Let's see, lots of questions. Oh, lots of comments. Annette asks, just bought Liquitex paint, trying to figure out the ratio to Floetrol and water. The Liquitex paint or the Liquitex pouring medium? The paint, well, I'll tell you how much of this I use. When I use my Liquitex, I use 3 parts Floetrol, 2 parts Liquitex, and then 3 parts paint, be it Liquitex paint or any paint. And then whatever amount of water I need to get it to the right consistency. The water is always the variable. So yeah, Annette says paint. So yeah, 3 parts paint. So I'm using just my basic Floetrol mix. That is 5 parts Floetrol, 3 parts paint, and whatever amount of water I need to get it to the right consistency. Hey, Novala, thanks for joining us. But I was just going to say something. You could also use, yes, a variation of that. It's a little easier to figure out, is just 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part paint is a much simpler ratio. So that is a very easy one to go by. And let's see, there's another question. Is Facebook user said, is there a limit on glue and water? How long can you use it if it's standing a while? Yes, there is a bit of a limit, although I've kept, if you keep it in a sealed container, like the cups I recommend and love, you can keep it for quite a while. But if you're just mixing it up and pouring, it'll stay fresh for quite a little while. You're welcome, Jen. Yeah, try out the Liquitex. So let's see, if you get my little cups like this, these are like 5.5 ounce souffle cups or snack cups, and get the little lids. and then you mix your glue and your paint inside here, it'll stay fresh for quite a little bit. You could always spritz it a little with a little, where's my little, I don't know where my little bottle went, but if you have a little squirt bottle with water in it, just spritz a little water in there before you put the lid on. It'll keep it fresher a little bit longer. So, hey, Donna, let's see. Let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah, Ned was trying to fill 8-ounce condiment bottles. Yeah, so with that, if you have 8 ounces, I'd probably want to leave a little room in there for mixing or shaking your bottle. So I'd probably use like 3 ounces of, or 6 ounces. No, what am I trying to think of? 8, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so 4 ounces of Floetrol, 2 ounces of paint, and then you'd have a little bit left for water and for shaking it up. So hopefully that helps. Let's see. Yeah, the bottles are great. Like the bottles work really well for mixing up your paints. They're very convenient to have just all your paints mixed up in the squirt bottles. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and you can, I like to have all my favorite ones mixed in bottles, and then you can add you can like kind of custom mix any kind of oddball colors or different colors you want to try out. So yeah, cool. Alrighty. Any other questions? Otherwise, thanks so much for joining me, everybody. These are great questions, by the way, too. So, Julia, okay, I missed this one. Julia asked, can I achieve paint pours with no cells? Sure, that's, you probably, I've found out, I've learned that there are generally 3 types of people, or paint pouring people who hate cells and never want cells, people who love cells and can't get enough cells, and then people kind of right in the middle who like cells. They can take them or leave them. They like them both ways. It sounds like you're I hate cells person. So what I would recommend for doing pours and not getting cells is don't use Floetrol. I would use this instead. Get some Liquitex pouring medium. This is a pretty affordable pouring medium from Michaels. Artist Loft is a Michaels brand. This is much cheaper than this. So I would start with this. So get some of this stuff and mix it maybe 2 parts of pouring medium to 1 part paint. And then again, you can add water to get it to the right consistency, and do your pours like normal, like your flip cup or ring pours. And you should really minimize the cells. This does not inherently generate cells. Floetrol, just Floetrol by itself likes to generate cells. That's why I like it. But if you want to stay away from cells, you want to go with a different type of pouring medium like this. This one is a good one, and I've had success with this. I've tried about 12 different pouring mediums. Some of them I like a lot. Some of them I hate because they're terrible. But this one is a good one, I think. Amsterdam makes a pouring medium, but it's way too expensive. I don't recommend that. I would go with the Liquitex over the Amsterdam. Lucas Paints, that's more of they're out of Germany, and they make nice paints. I like their paints. They're more affordable. They come in big bottles, but they make a pouring medium, but I don't like it at all. I've tried it and I do not like it. What else? DecoArt makes a pouring medium. I'm kind of, it's okay. I don't love it, but it's all right. I like this one better than the DecoArt one. And then, of course, Golden, their pouring medium is very good, but it's also very expensive. I still prefer my Liquitex, though, to the Golden. And there are a few other ones. There are so many. But this one should get you started, hopefully. That's what I'd recommend. So good question though. And Mama Bear Blue is here. Thanks for joining us, Mama Bear. No problem about showing up late. I'm just answering some questions. And let's see. And Jen says, on blooms and pearl pours, cells are okay, but sometimes it doesn't look good. Yeah, blooms are a totally kind of different story. You know, with blooms, you're really after the amazing lacing that's happening. So that, yeah, that blooms are kind of a different animal altogether, in my opinion. And pearl pours also, pearl pours, it depends on if you're using additives to get the pearls or not. Generally, there are two ways of doing the pearl pours, like the dump and swirl way, which is you just have your very thinned out paints and you're relying on the paint densities to get your amazing cells to pop up. And that's all you're putting in there is just the paint, some Floetrol, some water, and that's it. And maybe a little bit of Liquitex. But there's also another way to do it with the satin enamel paints to get the pearls. That's a tricky technique. I am not an expert at the pearl pour yet. So let's see, anyone else? Mama Bear Blue had a question. And what is your approach to planning a painting? How are you able to know what your painting will look like? I'm trying to get less random, more planned pieces. Well, that's a good question. And it's kind of a complex question, but I'll give you my 2 cents. It depends, a lot of it depends on the technique you're using, because some techniques lend themselves to a little more, your results can be a little more planned out, but not always. Some techniques are much more random. And like a flip cup, for instance, all the flip cup paintings, all the flip cup techniques, I mean, are totally unpredictable, and you never know what you're going to get. Ring pours and straight pours, you can kind of predict a little bit better what it's going to look like because of you're pouring the paint on a little more carefully. But again, you cannot know exactly what you're going to achieve, what it's going to look like in the end. Puddle pours and things like that, like a puddle pour, direct pour, still very random. Swipes, you can kind of know what you're going to get in a general sense. You know, you kind of know what the painting will look like. But a lot of this has to do with just your mindset and expectations going into your painting. And I know it's a lot of, you know, you don't want to kind of hear this, but my experience and my advice is to go into your paintings with very little expectations whatsoever. What I like to focus on is picking my colors, getting my paint consistency correct, figuring out how to layer my colors in like the cup, if it's a flip cup or ring pour. And then that's about it. Then I kind of let all my expectations go and let the paint do its thing. And then I think my favorite part of this style of painting is being surprised every single time at what the paint does. And so you've done your part, you've planned as well as you can, you know, picking your colors, picking your technique, prepping your canvas, getting all your supplies and materials ready, layering your cup. And then you kind of have to let the paint take over a little bit and be amazed by it. And if you can start doing that and going into your paintings with very little expectations of what's going to happen, I think you'll find that you will like your paintings so much more. When you start going into a painting and have a picture in your mind, you're almost always going to be disappointed to some extent because it's never going to match the picture in your mind. It's just because there's just too many things happening. It's just such a random way of painting. You just can't control it. So I embrace that, and I like to just let it surprise me. And some of my favorite paintings have been, I didn't think twice about it. I mixed my paints up, I layered my cup, I dumped it on there, and wow, amazing. I was totally blown away because I had zero expectations, and I just let the paint do its thing, and amazing things happen. The other thing that I will recommend is focus on the things you can control. The other thing that I like to tell my students and when in classes and things is focus on the tilting, and get really good at tilting your paint around the canvas and manipulating it and moving it instead of really, doing it too quickly, or you're just kind of nervous about it. Really take your time moving the paint around. And I think if you go in with very little expectations of what to expect, I think you're going to really be amazed at how much more you enjoy your paintings, and enjoy the process altogether. When we go in with a picture in our head of how we want it to look, I can almost guarantee it's never going to match. You might like the painting, but it's not going to match the picture in your head. So hopefully that helps. That's a lot of mindset stuff, but I find it's very important, especially with this form of art or any form of art that requires a lot of randomness and things you can't control. And a lot of that is just like, let it go. You gotta, like Elsa said, let it go, and just enjoy the process, have fun, be in the moment with your paints. And I think you'll really enjoy the whole painting process a whole lot more. And yeah, limit the expectations. Yeah. And this is a great right here. I never expected beauty, but love seeing the outcome. Yes. That's my favorite part, is what's going to happen. I'm surprised every single time, and that's a wonderful surprise. Yeah. So good question, though. Good question. I hope that helped a little. Let's see. I'm just checking comments. Yeah, Noella says, yeah, I'm not a pro pour expert yet. That's right. Yeah, always aim for greatness, Noella. Yes, surprises. Yes, Jen, the surprises. Yes, I love the surprises. That's why it never gets boring for me. That's why I love it so much, is it's always new, always something different. So let me just check. Yeah, and also don't be afraid to scrape and go again. Absolutely. Yeah, none of these are precious, unless you're working on like a 4 foot by 6 foot canvas. Yikes. But, that's a different level right there. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just checking the questions. Sorry. A lot of them. You guys are busy in here. So, yeah, any other questions? Yes, Queen of Hearts asked if I used GAC 800. I think we answered that. Maybe you joined us a little bit later. I do use it sometimes. I prefer Liquitex pouring medium, though. That's my favorite. Okay. So I think I'm kind of caught up. I went on my expectation rant a little too long, I think. So, hey, Joey. So, okay. Well, thanks, everyone. I think, let's I think that's it. Unless you have any last minute burning questions, I think we'll end it there. Thanks so much for joining me again. For those of you that are new, the whole point of this video was just sharing my little painting. So I'll just hold them up. I was doing some test paintings last night, and these were what came out of them. You're very welcome, Jen. I appreciate that a lot. I'm going to call you Jen from now on. Thank you. So these are a couple of the ones. These are just craft paint and silicone and school glue. So I'm trying these. These are fun to do. And so this is, these are going to be similar to the new content I'm adding to my little mini course. That's why it's down on the screen there. Because at the end of the month, I'm going to raise the price. So if you're brand new to acrylic pouring and have no idea what the heck we're talking about, then you might want to take the mini course. It goes through all the basics and using inexpensive supplies, and you can make your first couple paintings and see if you like the process and want to continue. So that's the whole point of that mini course. Oh, thanks, Danas. I appreciate that. And thanks, Joey. And you're welcome, Navala. Thank you for joining us. So anyway, I think I posted the link. I'll post it one more time, just in case you want to go check it out and see if it's for you. And you're very welcome, Mama Bear Blue. I appreciate that a lot. Thanks for joining us today. So next time, oh, wait, JC said, last minute. Okay, under the wire, JC. I have to ask this, your Liquitex pouring medium you mix with Floetrol? Yep, I do. That's my favorite medium, or one of my favorites, is 3 parts Floetrol, 2 parts Liquitex, 3 parts paint, and water if you need it. And you'll love it. I guarantee you'll love the results. Because you get some amazing looking cells, but they're not overwhelming. I love it. So give it a try. Good question. Okay. So I guess that's it, guys. Sorry I said guys. I hate saying that. It's a pet peeve of mine. I apologize. So, well, thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate you commenting and asking questions. They're great questions. And checking out my little paintings and listening to me blabber on and on about paint pouring. And I will catch you again in another live, maybe Friday. I think I'm going to do them maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I think I have a lot of comments or a lot of topics I can talk about. And we'll see what I do in the Friday live. Hey, Sylvia. Oh, Sylvia has a good question. Okay. You got in right under the wire, Sylvia. Did you answer about if I should use little wooden pieces that come with the canvas? Those little wooden pieces that come with your canvas, those are called canvas keys, like car keys, canvas keys. And what they do is they're little wedges, and you put one in each corner, right at the top. So one pointing this way and one pointing up, in these little slots that are in your canvas, and you tap them with a hammer. And what that does is it stretches your canvas out. So it opens up the stretcher bars a little bit to make your canvas really tight and like really taut. Yes, if you have to stretch your canvas open, use the canvas keys. They're perfect. They work great. Yes, Mama Bear Blue knows canvas keys. So yeah, they only usually come with a little higher end canvases. They're very common with linen canvases, which are more expensive canvases. And with cotton canvases, like these are, cotton, you can also spritz the back a little and that'll tighten up the canvas. But the canvas keys are really the ideal way to do that, to stretch your canvas and get the canvas nice and tight. So good question. Okay, so yes, yeah, less expensive canvases don't usually come with the keys. Yeah, okay. So anyway, that was a great question. end on a high note. So thank you again, everybody, and I will see you on the next live. And take care. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.